3 weeks. That's how long I'd been Mrs. Kang Min-ho. Wife to Seoul's most dangerous man. Queen of the underworld I never knew existed. 3 weeks, and I still woke up every morning expecting it to be a dream. But the gun under my pillow reminded me it wasn't. I was sitting in Min-ho's penthouse office, watching him conduct business with his captains through the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. He looked every bit the Mafia boss in his black suit, his voice cold and authoritative as he discussed territory disputes and shipping routes that I now knew carried more than just legitimate cargo. His world had become my world, and I was learning fast. Esther. Min-ho's voice pulled me from my thoughts. The meeting was over, his men filing out with respectful bows.
To him.
And now to me. You're distracted. I'm thinking, I corrected, moving to stand beside him at the window. The city sprawled below us, glittering and vast. Somewhere down there, people lived normal lives. Went to work, came home, worried about bills and traffic. I used to be one of them.
About what?
His arm slid around my waist, familiar now. Possessive. About how 3 weeks ago, I was eating ramen in a studio apartment, and now I'm married to a man who just ordered someone's fingers broken for stealing from him.
Min-ho is tightened.
He stole 50 million won from our operations. He's lucky I only took his fingers. I know. And I did. I was learning the rules of this world. Theft meant punishment. Betrayal meant death. Loyalty meant everything. I'm not judging. I'm just adjusting. He turned me to face him, his dark eyes searching mine. Are you sorry? That you saved me? That you married me? I thought about lying, giving him the answer that would keep things simple. Instead, I told the truth.
No.
I reached up to touch his face, feeling the slight stubble along his jaw.
I'm terrified.
But I'm not sorry. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, the kind of kiss that still made my knees weak. When we broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. I have to go to Busan tonight. Port inspection. One of our shipping captains thinks someone's skimming product. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll come with you.
No.
His tone was firm. It could be dangerous. The Song family has contacts in Busan. I'd rather you stay here where it's safe. Min-ho, you promised to make me your partner, not your prisoner. I'm not. He stopped, took a breath. I'm protecting you. There's a difference. Is there? We'd had this argument 3 times already. He wanted to shield me from the violent parts of his world. I wanted to be involved in all of it. Not because I enjoyed violence. I was still a nurse at heart, but because being blind to danger was more dangerous than facing it. Fine, he said finally. But you stay close to me. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood? Understood. He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. We leave in 2 hours. Pack light.
Busan was beautiful at night.
The port city glittered with lights reflecting off the water, ships of all sizes dotting the harbor. We arrived at the docks after midnight, accompanied by 6 of Min-ho's personal guards, including Do-yoon, his head of security, a man built like a tank with eyes that missed nothing. The warehouse we entered was massive, stacked floor to ceiling with shipping containers. Min-ho's captain, a wiry man named Choi, was waiting inside, nervous energy radiating off him. Boss, he said with a deep bow. Then to me, slightly less deep, Mrs. Kang. I was still getting used to that title. Show me the discrepancies, Min-ho ordered. All business now. Choi led us through the warehouse, explaining inventory numbers that didn't match, shipments that arrived lighter than they should be, money that disappeared from accounts. Someone was definitely stealing. The question was who? I stayed close to Min-ho, watching everything. The guards positioned at exits. The way Choi kept glancing at the office door. The smell of the sea mixed with something chemical, probably whatever illegal goods were hidden in these legitimate shipping containers. Then I saw it. A shadow moving on the 2nd floor catwalk. Too deliberate to be a guard. Too careful to be innocent. Min-ho, I whispered, touching his arm. He followed my gaze immediately, his hand going to the gun under his jacket. Everything happened at once. The shadow became a man with a rifle. Do-yoon shouted a warning. Min-ho threw himself at me, knocking us both behind a shipping container as gunfire erupted. The sound was deafening. Bullets pinged off metal, shattered glass, tore through cardboard. I could hear shouting in Korean. Min-ho's guards were turning fire. "Stay down," Min-ho ordered, covering my body with his. But I could see what he couldn't from this angle. Choi, the nervous captain, running toward a side exit. Not away from danger.
Toward escape. Choi.
I shouted. "He's running." Min-ho's head snapped up. He saw Choi fleeing, saw the betrayal written clearly in the man's retreat.
Do-yoon.
"Stop him."
Min-ho로 아랫.
But Do-yoon was pinned down by rifle fire. The shooter on the catwalk had a clear line of sight to anyone who tried to follow Choi. Without thinking, without letting myself think, I grabbed the gun Min-ho had insisted I carry. The small pistol felt heavy in my hands, but I remembered his training. Stance. Sight.
Breathe.
I stepped out from behind the container. Esther and O. Min-ho's shot was cut off by my gunfire. I wasn't aiming for the shooter. I couldn't make that shot, he was too far, too elevated. But I could hit the metal support beam next to him. 3 shots. The bullets sparked off the metal inches from his head. He jerked back, startled, his rifle swinging toward me. That 1 second of distraction was all Do-yoon needed. He took the shot. The rifle clattered to the catwalk floor, followed by the shooter's body. In the sudden silence, I stood there, gun still raised, my hands shaking violently. Min-ho was beside me in an instant, taking the gun, pulling me against him. "Are you insane?" His voice was rough with fear and fury. "You could have been killed." But I wasn't. I was shaking so hard my teeth chattered. "And Do-yoon got him. And you can still catch." "Choi is already gone," Do-yoon said, approaching us. He looked at me with something like respect. But Mrs. Kang's distraction saved my life. "Thank you." I just nodded, not trusting my voice. Min-ho's arms tightened around me. I could feel the rapid beating of his heart, smell the cologne and gunpowder that now defined him in my mind. "We're leaving," he said.
Now.
"But the investigation can wait." His voice was steel. "My wife's safety cannot." The drive back to Seoul was silent. Min-ho sat beside me in the back of the armored car, his hand gripping mine so tight it almost hurt. His jaw was clenched, his expression carved from stone. He was furious. We made it back to the penthouse just before dawn. The moment the door closed behind us and the guards took their positions outside, Min-ho exploded. "What the hell were you thinking?" He rounded on me, and I'd never seen him this angry. Not cold and controlled like when he dealt with enemies. This was hot, visceral rage born from fear. "You stepped into an active firefight. You could have died. I was helping. You were being reckless." He ran both hands through his hair, pacing like a caged animal. "I brought you to Busan against my better judgment because you wanted to be involved. And the first sign of danger, you throw yourself into the line of fire." I didn't throw myself anywhere. I made a tactical decision. "You're not a soldier, Esther. You're a nurse." He stopped in front of me, his chest heaving. "You're my wife. And if something happened to you, if I lost you..." His voice cracked. I stepped closer, reaching for him. "But you didn't lose me. I'm right here. This time." He caught my hands, holding them tight. "But what about next time? What about the time after that? My world is full of bullets and betrayal, and I can't..." He stopped, closed his eyes. "I can't watch you die like I watched her die."
Sarah.
The woman in the photo. The ghost that still haunted him. "I'm not her," I said gently. "I know." His eyes opened, and they were full of anguish. "You're so much braver than she was. So much stronger. And that terrifies me more because it means you'll keep putting yourself in danger." "Min-ho? I love you." The words hung in the air between us. My breath caught.
What?
"I love you," he repeated, his voice raw and honest. "I know it's only been 3 weeks. I know this started as a lie, as protection, as strategy. But somewhere between you saving my life and standing up to Song Jae-hyuk and stepping into that warehouse tonight, I fell in love with you." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it.
Min-ho, eat.
You don't have to say it back, he interrupted quickly. I know this is complicated. I know you might never feel the same way. But I needed you to know. Because if something happens to me, if the Song family or my enemies or any of the 100 threats in my world come for me, I need you to know that you are loved. Truly. Completely. I looked at this man. This dangerous, beautiful, complicated man who'd transformed my life. Who'd protected me, taught me, trusted me. Who looked at me like I was his whole world. You're an idiot, I said. He blinked. What? You think I don't love you back? I moved closer, my hands on his chest. Min-ho, I fell for you the moment you woke up in my apartment and looked at me like I was the answer to a question you'd been asking your whole life. I fell harder when you paid my rent and filled my fridge and taught me how to shoot. I fell completely when you stood beside me at that wedding and promised to protect me with everything you had. His hands came up to cup my face. Esther, I love you, I said clearly. Even though you're bossy and overprotective and run a criminal empire. Even though your world is dangerous and terrifying. Even though this might end badly. I love you. He kissed me then, and it was different from all the other kisses. This wasn't desire or comfort or claiming. This was truth. This was real. When we broke apart, both of us were crying. We're going to survive this, I whispered against his lips. Your enemies, the Song family, all of it. We're going to survive because we're together. Promise me something, he said. Anything. Promise me you'll run if I tell you to. That if it comes down to a choice between your life and mine, you'll choose yours. I can't promise that, Esther.
No.
I held his gaze. You don't get to ask me to save myself if it means losing you. We're partners, remember? That means we protect each other. That means we survive together or not at all. He looked at me for a long moment, then kissed my forehead. You're going to be the death of me. Or the life of you, I countered. We'll see. We stood there in our penthouse, holding each other as the sun rose over Seoul, and I believed it. We would survive this. We had to. I was wrong. 2 days later, everything fell apart. I was at the hospital. Yes, Min-ho had gotten me my nursing license and a job at Seoul's best private hospital, another promise kept. When Dion called, Mrs. Kang. His voice was tight with barely controlled panic. You need to come home.
Now.
What happened? Is Min-ho? He's alive. But there's been an incident. I'm sending a car. The drive back to the penthouse felt like hours instead of minutes. My mind raced through possibilities, each worse than the last. When I burst through the door, the apartment was full of Min-ho's men. All armed. All tense. And in the center of it all, Min-ho sat at his desk, his face carved from ice, staring at a laptop screen. Min-ho, what? He turned the laptop toward me. It was a video. Playing on loop. My sister Chioma. Tied to a chair. Crying. And standing behind her, smiling at the camera, was Song Jae-hyuk. The video had sound. Kang Min-ho. Jae-hyuk's voice was pleasant, conversational. You cost me 3 ships, 50 million won, and considerable face when your wife embarrassed me at your wedding. I think it's time we settled accounts. He pulled out a knife, running it gently along Chioma's cheek. She whimpered, tears streaming down her face. You have 24 hours to meet my terms. Come alone to the address I'm sending. Bring the deeds to your eastern docks, your shipping routes, and control of your Busan operations. Sign everything over to me. He pressed the knife just hard enough to draw a thin line of blood. Or, I'll send your wife or sister. Piece by piece. The video ended. I couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
Couldn't process what I'd just seen. When did this come? I heard myself ask. My voice sounded distant, mechanical. An hour ago. Min-ho came to me. Esther. How did he get her? My sister was in Nigeria. Lagos. Thousands of miles away. How did he even know about her? Min-ho's expression was grim.
Joy.
The captain who betrayed us in Busan. He must have given the Song family everything. Our operations, our weaknesses, our families. So this is my fault. The realization was crushing. If I hadn't married you, if I hadn't gotten involved, Chioma would be safe. This is not your fault, Min-ho said firmly. This is Jae-hyuk's choice. He's escalating because he's desperate. We've been winning the territory war, and he knows it. I don't care about territory, I shouted. I care about my sister. My baby sister, who's only 20 years old and in university, and has nothing to do with any of this. I know. He pulled me against him, and I realized I was shaking. I know, and I swear to you, we're going to get her back.
How?
He wants you to give up everything. Your docs, your operations, your power. Then, that's what I'll do. I jerked back to look at him.
What?
If it saves your sister's life, I'll give him whatever he wants.
Min-ho? No.
That's your entire empire. I don't care. His eyes were fierce. I told you I'd protect you, and everyone you love. That includes Chioma. I'm not letting her die for my pride. Do-yeon stepped forward. Boss, if you give him the docs, you lose half your income. The family won't stand for it. They'll see it as weakness. Then they can challenge me, Min-ho said coldly. But my wife's sister is not dying because of organizational politics. I looked at this man, this powerful, dangerous man who was willing to sacrifice everything for my family, and fell in love with him all over again. There has to be another way, I said. There isn't. Jae-hyuk has her hidden somewhere, probably with a dozen guards. Even if we could find her before the deadline, which we can't, a rescue mission would likely get her killed. So we just give him what he wants. Yes. And then what? He lets her go out of the goodness of his heart. I shook my head. He's going to kill her anyway, Min-ho. Once he has what he wants, there's no reason to keep her alive. She's a witness. A liability. Min-ho's jaw tightened because he knew I was right. Unless, I said slowly, an idea forming. We give him something he wants more than the docs. What could he possibly want more than? Min-ho stopped, his eyes widening as he realized what I was suggesting.
No.
Absolutely not. He wants revenge. He wants to humiliate you. He wants to show everyone in the organization that you're weak. I took a breath. So give him that. Give him me. Are you insane? You're suggesting I trade you for your sister? I'm suggesting we make him think that's what's happening. We set up an exchange, me for Chioma. But we don't play by his rules. Esther. Listen to me. I looked at Do-yeon, at the other captains in the room. Jae-hyuk wants Min-ho isolated and humiliated. He wants public victory. So we give him theater. We make the exchange in a public place, somewhere crowded where he can't risk a massacre. Somewhere with exits and escape routes. And then what? Do-yeon asked, interested despite himself. Then we take him down, I said simply. All of you position yourselves as civilians in the crowd. The moment Chioma is safe, you move.
Fast.
Coordinated. We don't just save my sister. We end the Song family threat permanently. Min-ho was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. You're talking about an ambush. In public. With you as bait. I'm talking about winning. I met his gaze. You taught me that in your world, sometimes you have to fight dirty to survive. So, let's fight dirty. Silence filled the penthouse. Then, Do-yeon spoke. It could work. If we plan it right. Control the location. Plant our people. Move fast enough that Jae-hyuk doesn't have time to react. It's too dangerous, Min-ho interrupted. If anything goes wrong, Esther dies. If we do nothing, Chioma dies, I countered. And you lose everything anyway. At least this way, we're taking the fight to him. Min-ho looked at me for a long moment. I could see the war behind his eyes, his love for me fighting against his strategic mind that knew I was right. Finally, he spoke. If we do this, if I agree to this insane plan, you follow my orders exactly. The moment Chioma is safe, you get out. Understood? Understood. He didn't look convinced, but he turned to Do-yeon. We have 24 hours. Start planning. The exchange was set for the next evening at Dongdaemun Plaza, one of Seoul's most iconic public spaces. Thousands of people visited daily. Multiple exits. Open sight lines. Perfect for an ambush if you planned it right. Min-ho's men spent the day positioning themselves. Street vendors who were actually soldiers. Tourists with cameras that hid weapons. Maintenance workers who controlled the security systems. By the time evening came, we had 40 people in place. And I was terrified. Last chance to back out, Min-ho said as we prepared to leave. He was checking my vest, bulletproof, concealed under my jacket for the third time. I'm not backing out. Esther. My sister, Min-ho. I'm not abandoning her. He cupped my face, his expression anguished. If something happens to you, it won't. I covered his hands with mine. We have a plan. We have people. And we have each other. Promise me something. What? Promise me that after this is over, after we get Chioma back and end the Song family, we leave Seoul. Go somewhere safe. Start over.
His voice was raw.
I'll walk away from the organization, from all of it. We'll take your sister, move to another country, live quiet lives. Just promise me we'll have that. Tears filled my eyes. You'd give up everything? Your power, your empire, your family? In a heartbeat, he said simply. For you. I kissed him, pouring every ounce of love and fear and hope into it. Then I promise, I whispered against his lips. After tonight, we start over. Together. We arrived at Dongdaemun just after sunset. The plaza was crowded with tourists, the futuristic architecture lit up against the darkening sky. Song Jae-hyuk was waiting near the main pavilion, flanked by his guards. And there, beside him, was Chioma. She looked terrified but unharmed. Relief flooded through me. Min-ho and I approached slowly, his hand tight around mine. Kang Min-ho. Jae-hyuk called out in English, loud enough for nearby tourists to hear. And the lovely Mrs. Kang. So good of you to come. Where are the documents? Min-ho asked coldly. Right here. Jae-hyuk held up a briefcase. Deed transfers for the docks, shipping routes, everything we discussed. All requiring your signature. But first, he smiled. The exchange. Your wife for the sister. Just like old times, yes? Trading one woman for another. He was referencing Sarah. Twisting the knife. Min-ho's grip on my hand tightened, but his voice stayed level. Let her go first. Then Esther comes to you.
No.
Jae-hyuk's smile widened. Esther comes to me. Then I release the sister. You don't trust me, Min-ho? Not even a little.
Smart man.
Jae-hyuk pulled out a gun, pressed it against Chioma's temple. She whimpered, tears streaming down her face. But you don't have a choice. Send Esther over, or I paint this beautiful plaza with your sister-in-law's brain. This wasn't the plan. We'd expected a simultaneous exchange, not this. But looking at my sister's terrified face, I knew I didn't have a choice. I'm going, I said quietly to Min-ho. Esther, no. It's okay. I squeezed his hand. Trust the plan.
Trust your people.
I looked into his eyes. Trust me. Before he could stop me, I pulled away and walked toward Jae-hyuk. Every step felt like an eternity. I could feel Min-ho's eyes on my back, could sense Do-yun and the others tensing, waiting for the signal. I reached Jae-hyuk. He grabbed my arm roughly, pulling me close. I could smell his cologne, expensive and cloying. You know he's going to try to save you, Jae-hyuk murmured in my ear. He'll have people positioned all over. He thinks he's smart. My blood ran cold. He knew. But I'm smarter, he continued. I have snipers on 3 buildings. The moment his people move, they start shooting. Not at me, at the crowd. Children, families, tourists. Blood everywhere. International incident. He smiled against my cheek. Think he'll risk that? He'd checkmate us. Chioma goes, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. That was the deal. Sure. He shoved my sister forward. She stumbled, and Min-ho caught her, immediately passing her to Do-yun, who started leading her away. But Jae-hyuk's gun was now pressed against my spine. Here's what happens next, he said, still speaking quietly. Min-ho signs over the docks. Right here, right now. Then we all walk away. He gets to keep his wife. I get to keep my new territory. Everyone wins. And if he refuses? Then I shoot you in front of him and everyone here. And then my snipers start killing civilians until he agrees anyway. His smile was cruel. Your choice, Mrs. Kang. Convince your husband to surrender, or watch innocent people die. I looked across the plaza at Min-ho. Even from this distance, I could see the calculation in his eyes. He knew something was wrong. Knew this wasn't going according to plan. Our eyes met. And in that moment I made my choice. No. I shouted in Korean, loud enough for everyone to hear. He has snipers. Don't sign. Get everyone out. Everything exploded into chaos. Jae-hyuk screamed in fury, the gun at my back pressing harder. But I twisted, using the self-defense moves Min-ho had taught me, throwing my elbow back into Jae-hyuk's throat. He staggered, choking, and I ran. Gunfire erupted. Not from Jae-hyuk's snipers, from Do-yeon and Min-ho's people, who'd immediately targeted the rooftop positions the moment I'd warned them. Tourists were screaming, scattering in all directions. It was pandemonium. I was running toward Min-ho when I felt the impact. Not pain. Not at first. Just impact. Like someone had punched me in the back. I stumbled, fell to my knees. That's when the pain came. Sharp, burning, spreading across my chest. I looked down. Blood was blooming across my shirt, dark and wet. I'd been shot. Esther. Min-ho's scream cut through the chaos. He was running toward me, his face a mask of horror. I tried to stay upright, but the world was tilting, darkening at the edges. Min-ho caught me before I hit the ground, cradling me against him. His hands pressed against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. No, 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 he was saying over and over like a prayer. Not you. Not you. Esther, stay with me. Chioma? I managed to gasp out. Safe. Yes, she's safe. Do-yeon has her. But you, his voice broke. You're bleeding. There's so much blood. The vest. I coughed, tasting copper. Didn't cover my whole back. Around us, the firefight was ending. I could hear Do-yeon shouting orders, the sound of bodies hitting the ground. Jae-hyuk screaming as Min-ho's men descended on him. But it all seemed very far away. Don't you dare die on me, Min-ho said fiercely, his face above mine. His tears were falling on my cheeks, mixing with my own. You promised me. You promised we'd start over together. You promised. I love you, I whispered. It was getting hard to breathe. Tell Chioma, tell my family. You'll tell them yourself, he insisted. You're going to live. You hear me? You're going to live because I can't do this without you. I can't. The darkness was closing in fast now. I tried to hold on, tried to stay present, but the pain was fading into numbness, and the world was going soft and quiet. The last thing I heard was Min-ho screaming for a medic. The last thing I felt was his arms around me, holding me like he could keep me alive, through sheer force of will. The last thing I thought was, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And then there was nothing but darkness. And that's where we have to leave Esther and Min-ho. Did Esther survive? Will Min-ho lose the love of his life the same way he lost Sarah? What happened to Song Jae-hyuk? And what will Chioma do now that she's seen the true danger of her sister's new world? If you're sitting there right now with your heart pounding, desperate to know what happens next, good. That means you're feeling exactly what you're supposed to feel. But here's the thing, Part 3 is already in the works, and you do not want to miss it.
So here's what you need to do right now.
Hit that subscribe button. Seriously, do it right now. I'll wait. Turn on all notifications so you're the first person to know the moment Part 3 drops. Because I promise you, the next chapter is going to be intense. Here's a little taste of what's coming. The desperate race to save Esther's life. Will Min-ho's connections be enough? The final confrontation with Song Jae-hyuk, and a shocking revelation about who betrayed them. Chioma's transformation as she's pulled deeper into the organization. A dangerous choice Min-ho has to make between love and loyalty. And an ending that will change everything for both of them forever. Drop a comment below and tell me. Do you think Esther survives? Should Min-ho take revenge on Song Jae-hyuk or show mercy? And what would you do if you were in Esther's position? I read every single comment, and your theories actually help me write these stories better. If you love this story, smash that like button and share it with someone who loves mafia romance, strong heroines, and heart-stopping cliffhangers. Part 3 is coming soon, and I promise, it's going to be worth the wait. Until then, stay dangerous, stay in love, and remember, in Min-ho's world, happy endings are earned, not given. I'll see you in Part 3.